Hey guys, welcome back. Tonight we journey through time into the cradle of ancient myths where gods ruled the skies, heroes challenged fate, and every whisper of the wind carried a story older than memory itself. This is Greek Mythology ENTIRE Story, the full legend of the ancient gods, heroes, and monsters, told softly for your peace, for your dreams, and for your heart to rest. From the birth of chaos to the fall of Olympus, we'll drift through the realms of Zeus, Athena, Hades, and the heroes who dared to defy destiny. Each tale a reflection of our humanity, each moment a step through eternity. So before you get comfortable, take a gentle moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if these deep sleep history stories help you find peace, sleep better, or simply reflect on our shared journey through time. Now, close your eyes, let the ancient wind carry you home, and drift softly into the world where myths never die. Close your eyes and imagine a time before time itself. There were no stars, no sky, no sea, only an endless void, silent, vast, and without form. From this stillness came the first breath of existence, chaos. Not chaos as we know it, but a boundless expanse, raw and pure, the womb of everything to come. Out of chaos emerged Gaia, the earth, ancient and patient, her body the ground upon which all would one day walk. She was warmth and gravity, the cradle of all life. Above her rose Uranus, the sky, her eternal companion. When he stretched across her vastness, the first horizon was born, a union of heaven and earth. From their embrace came the Titans, 12 mighty beings whose hearts pulsed with the rhythm of creation. Among them was Oceanus, the endless river that encircled the world, and Hyperion, who brought forth the light. There was Themis, the law, and Mnemosyne, the memory of all things. But their greatest child was Kronos, time itself, whose shadow fell across every living thing. Gaia loved her children, but Uranus feared them. Each time a Titan was born, he pushed them deep into the earth, burying them in darkness so that his power would never be challenged. The cries of her children echoed within Gaia's heart. The pain grew heavy, so heavy that even the mountains trembled. And so she whispered to her youngest son, Kronos. "My child," she said, "the world must breathe. You must free your brothers and sisters." Kronos listened, and from Gaia's core she gave him a weapon, a sickle forged of unbreakable stone. One night, as Uranus descended to lie upon Gaia once more, Kronos struck. The sound was not of rage, but of release. The sky pulled away from the earth, and light, true light, poured into the world for the very first time. Thus the reign of the Titans began. But even in that new dawn, shadows remained. For time once awakened never rests. It only moves forward, watching, waiting, shaping all that will ever be. Under the golden light of a newborn world, the Titans ruled. Their strength shaped mountains and carved the seas.
Time moved, slow and deliberate, through the veins of the cosmos. At their head stood Kronos, the god of time, the sun who had dethroned the sky. His sickle still gleamed with the echo of rebellion. Under his reign, the world grew vast, rich, and full of power. The rivers found their paths, the winds learned their dance, and the stars took their places above. Yet even in triumph, fear whispered in Kronos's heart. For Gaia, the mother of all, had spoken a prophecy that one day a child of Kronos would rise and do to him what he had done to Uranus. The thought haunted him like a shadow that never faded. When his wife, Rhea, bore their first child, a boy named Hestia, Kronos's fear took form. He looked at the infant and saw not innocence, but destiny. So, as the baby cried, Kronos opened his mouth and swallowed her whole. The world shuddered. The wind held its breath. Rhea wept, but she said nothing, for she knew in the heart of power, mercy rarely blooms. The years passed. One by one, her children were born: Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, and one by one, Kronos consumed them. Each swallow silenced the laughter of creation, and the halls of Mount Othrys grew eerily quiet. Rhea's sorrow became a silent ocean. But the prophecy could not be swallowed. When her sixth child was born, a flicker of defiance returned to her heart. This child, she knew, would be different. His name was Zeus. To save him, Rhea fled under the veil of night to the island of Crete. There, in a cave hidden by ivy and mist, she gave birth as the stars watched from above. The cries of the newborn echoed softly against stone walls, a sound that one day would shake the heavens. In place of the baby, she wrapped a stone in cloth and returned to Kronos. The Titan, blind with fear, devoured it without question. Thus Zeus lived, hidden, growing strong under the care of nymphs and spirits. They fed him honey and milk from the goat Amalthea, and his laughter filled the air like a promise the world had forgotten. In time, Zeus became more than a boy. His voice carried the thunder before thunder had a name. When he learned of his father's cruelty, he did not tremble. Instead, he waited, patient as the mountain itself, for the moment to strike. The world above slept in the illusion of peace, but beneath the soil, the storm was forming, one that would end the age of Titans forever.
Years passed like quiet ripples across an eternal sea. Hidden in the caves of Crete, Zeus grew into a god of radiant strength. His eyes reflected the sky itself. His voice rolled like distant thunder. The nymphs who raised him knew the prophecy was no longer a whisper. It was beginning to awaken. One day, guided by the wisdom of Gaia, Zeus descended from the mountains to face his fate. With cunning and compassion, he sought out Metis, the goddess of wisdom, who taught him the way to bring down his father without destroying the world. "Give him what he gave," she said softly, "but let him feel the weight of his own fear." Zeus returned to the throne of Kronos, disguised as a humble servant, offering his father a drink mixed with a secret potion. Kronos, proud and unsuspecting, drank deeply. The earth trembled. A sound like thunder echoed across the sky. One by one, from the depths of Kronos' being, the swallowed gods returned: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, reborn, shining with divine fire. And together they stood beside Zeus, their long silent voices rising once more. The war of the gods had begun. For 10 long years the world burned with storms of fire and stone. Titans clashed against gods, mountains shattered, and seas boiled beneath the weight of fury. Lightning split the sky as Zeus hurled his bolts. Poseidon shook the oceans with his trident. Hades opened the gates of the underworld to swallow the fallen. From the depths of Tartarus, monsters rose, and from Olympus, hope fought back. It was not just a battle for power, but for balance, the right of a new age to be born. Finally, after 10 long years that felt like eternity, the tide turned. Zeus, wielding the thunder gifted by the Cyclopses, struck Kronos with a blinding storm. The heavens roared, the Titans fell one after another, their cries fading into the abyss of Tartarus, where they would sleep for all time behind unbreakable gates. Silence returned to the world. But it was no longer the silence of emptiness. It was the silence after creation, the deep breath of a world reborn. On the highest peak, Zeus and his siblings gathered. The air shimmered with peace. Hestia tended the first divine fire. Poseidon claimed the seas. Hades descended to rule the underworld. Hera watched the skies with calm resolve. And at last, Zeus, son of Kronos, stood upon Mount Olympus, crowned not by blood, but by destiny. From there, he gazed upon the earth and whispered to the wind, "Let this world be watched, not ruled. Let harmony outlive fear." And so, the age of the Olympians began, where gods walked among clouds and mortals learned to dream.
High above the clouds, where the winds sleep and the stars begin, lies Olympus, the house of the gods. Its marble pillars shimmer with eternal dawn, and its halls echo with the rhythm of time itself. Here, 12 thrones stand in a perfect circle, each carved with the soul of its keeper. At the center sits Zeus, the king of gods. His presence is not loud, but commanding, like thunder waiting to be born. In his hand rests the lightning bolt, a reminder of both justice and wrath. They say when Zeus speaks, even the wind pauses to listen. He is the balance between chaos and order, the sky's heartbeat, the voice that once broke the silence of creation. Yet Zeus is not only power, he is desire, curiosity, the flame that can both protect and consume. The rain he sends feeds the fields, yet his storms humble kings. In his eyes, the world finds both mercy and warning. Beside him sits Hera, the queen of heaven. Her beauty is not of youth, but of wisdom and fire. She is the protector of marriage, of vows spoken under stars. But within her heart burns the ache of betrayal, for even gods cannot escape the flaws of love. Hera's gaze is steady. She loves fiercely and punishes fiercely too. When she walks through Olympus, the peacocks follow, their feathers glimmering with 1,000 eyes, eyes that see all, eyes that remember. Hera teaches mortals that devotion is not blind, and that dignity is its own crown. Yet behind her pride lies tenderness, the kind only those who have loved deeply can bear. Beyond the golden halls, where the clouds meet the endless blue, lies the domain of Poseidon, brother of Zeus, ruler of the seas. His throne is carved from coral, his crown woven from foam and pearl. When he laughs, waves dance. When he frowns, storms rise. His trident strikes the sea, and mountains tremble far inland. But beneath his temper lies a strange peace, the rhythm of tides, the eternal inhale and exhale of the ocean. Sailors pray to him before every voyage, whispering his name with trembling hope. For Poseidon can be kind, lifting lost ships upon calm waters, or cruel, dragging arrogance to the depths. He is the soul of the sea itself, beautiful, unpredictable, endless. On land, among golden fields, walks Demeter, goddess of the harvest. Her touch makes the wheat bow and the orchards bloom. She carries warmth wherever she goes, the breath of summer, the promise of plenty. Yet her heart carries an old sorrow, the loss of her daughter, Persephone, who was taken to the Underworld. Every winter, when the earth grows cold, Demeter mourns, and when spring returns, she smiles again, letting flowers bloom in forgiveness. Through her, mortals learned the rhythm of life and loss, of giving and letting go. Her love for the world is quiet but vast, the kind that feeds without demanding thanks. And as she walks beneath the sun, the wind carries her whispers, that even in loss there is renewal.
Beyond the horizon of Olympus, where dawn paints the sky with gold and silver, there walks a goddess whose eyes hold the calm of all storms, Athena. Born not from the womb, but from thought itself, she came into the world fully grown, armored and radiant, emerging from the head of Zeus in a flash of thunder. The world paused in awe, for she was wisdom made flesh. In her gaze lay clarity, in her voice calm reason. Where others ruled through fear, Athena ruled through understanding. She guided kings in times of war and poets in times of peace. The owl, her companion, watched with unblinking eyes, seeing through the illusions of pride and ignorance. To her, victory was not destruction, but balance, the restoration of harmony through intelligence. When mortals built cities, they whispered her name, for Athena taught them not only to fight, but to think. She was the mother of strategy, the quiet force behind justice. Yet for all her strength, she loved peace most of all. For wisdom, she believed, was not knowing how to win, but when not to fight. And when she walked beneath the stars, the world seemed to breathe slower, more thoughtfully. From wisdom came music, and from music, light. In the golden warmth of the sun rode Apollo, his chariot blazing across the sky. His laughter echoed through valleys, his song carried over seas. Apollo was both the giver of life and the keeper of truth. In one hand he held the lyre, strings of harmony that healed the heart. In the other he carried the bow, arrows of light that punished arrogance. He was the god of prophecy, of art, of reason, and of medicine. Every melody he played was a reminder that beauty and truth are not enemies. They are reflections of the same divine order. Yet Apollo's brilliance sometimes blinded him. His love for perfection made him both tender and proud. He loved deeply and often lost, but each heartbreak became another song, another sunrise. And when his music drifted through the night, mortals felt less alone. For somewhere in that golden sound, they recognized their own longing. Beneath his light moved his twin sister, Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, the moon, and the untamed wild. If Apollo was day, she was night. Her steps were silent through the forests, her arrows silver as moonlight. She was both protector and predator, fierce and pure. Her heart belonged to solitude, to the whisper of leaves and the song of wolves. Mortals prayed to her for safe births, for strength, for freedom. Yet she asked for nothing, only respect for the balance of life and death. When she raised her bow to the sky, the moon seemed to listen. To see Artemis was to see independence shaped by grace. She was the serenity that follows the storm, the quiet heartbeat of the wilderness. But not all divine hearts beat with calm. From the roar of battlefields and the blood-soaked dust came Ares, the god of war. His presence was thunder without rain, flame without warmth. Where Athena represented wisdom in war, Ares embodied its chaos. He was passion unbound, fury incarnate. His armor shone like burning iron, his eyes like the edge of a blade. Mortals both feared and admired him, for within his rage lived courage, the raw will to survive. Yet Ares never understood peace. He only understood victory. Even among gods, his temper was legend. But when the battle ended and silence fell upon the earth, Ares would sit alone among the fallen, hearing his own breath echo through the emptiness. For in his heart, beneath the noise of war, there was something fragile, a longing to be seen not as destruction, but as proof that even chaos has its place.
Among all the gods of Olympus, none entered the world with more mystery than Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. They say she was born not of flesh, but of sea foam. When the waves embraced the sky, and a single drop of eternity touched the waters. From that touch, Aphrodite rose, golden, radiant, the sea shimmering around her like silk. Wherever she walked, flowers opened and hearts followed. But her beauty was not meant to enslave, it was meant to awaken. Love, she whispered, is not possession, it is reflection. The soul recognizing itself in another. To mortals, she brought both joy and torment. For love, like the sea, can lift or drown. Yet in her gentlest moments, Aphrodite was not the goddess of desire, but of compassion. The reminder that even gods ache for connection. Her laughter softened the hardest hearts. Her tears calmed storms. And when night fell, her light lingered in the hearts of lovers as if the moon itself borrowed her glow. Deep beneath Olympus, in the forge where mountains breathe fire, worked Hephaestus, the god of the forge, the craftsman of gods. His hands were scarred, his gait uneven, but his heart burned with the brilliance of creation. From his hammer came wonders, shields that could deflect fate, jewelry that sang with starlight, palaces built upon clouds. Though cast from Olympus as a child, Hephaestus never sought revenge, only purpose. In his solitude, he learned that beauty can come from imperfection, that broken things can still shine. His fire was not of destruction, but transformation. Each spark that flew from his forge was a promise that pain could be remade into art. Even the gods wore his work, though few spoke his name with gratitude. But Hephaestus never asked for praise. The fire was enough. It spoke for him, steady, strong, eternal. From the depths of the forge, the story rises to the wind, to Hermes, the swift messenger of the gods. His sandals, winged with golden light, carried him between worlds, from Olympus to earth, from dreams to death. He was the voice that never rested, the laughter between thunderclaps. Hermes was the god of travelers, of merchants, of thieves,
and of ideas. He carried words like treasures and secrets like wind. To mortals he was a trickster, to the gods an indispensable bridge. In every boundary he found freedom. His message was clear: movement is life. The world, like the soul, must keep traveling. Yet Hermes was not merely speed. He was empathy in motion, a gentle guide for lost souls. When mortals died, it was he who took their hands and led them softly to the other side, whispering, "Don't be afraid. Every ending is just another road." And then there was Dionysus, the youngest and perhaps the most human of all gods. Born of joy and madness, of earth and vine, he carried with him the wildness of nature and the ecstasy of surrender. His crown was of ivy, his cup always full. But his gift was not drunkenness, it was release. Through wine and song, he reminded mortals that joy is sacred, that to laugh, to dance, to weep, all are acts of the divine. In his festivals, people forgot their fears and remembered their souls. Dionysus was the god who blurred lines between mortal and divine, sanity and passion, sorrow and bliss. To some, he was chaos, to others, salvation, but to all, he was the pulse of life itself, the rhythm that beats beneath the silence of Olympus. And so on that sacred mountain, 12 thrones shimmer beneath eternal light. Each god, from Zeus's thunder to Dionysus's wine, holds a piece of the world's soul. They are not distant rulers, but mirrors of the human heart. Love, wisdom, anger, creativity, desire, laughter, fear, and hope, all divine, all fragile, all infinite. And as the stars drift across the sleeping sky, their stories whisper again, reminding us that within every dream, the gods still breathe.
Long after the gods had settled on Olympus, the earth began to echo with the footsteps of heroes, mortals born with divine blood, whose stories shaped the memory of mankind. Among them, one name glows brighter than the rest: Heracles, whom the Romans would later call Hercules. He was the son of Zeus and a mortal woman, Alcmene, born not only of strength, but of sorrow. From his first breath, Hera's jealousy shadowed his fate. She sent serpents to his cradle, yet the infant Heracles crushed them with his bare hands. The gods watched, silent, knowing this child's path would not be easy. As he grew, Heracles became unmatched in might. His arms could wrestle lions. His heart could bear burdens no mortal could endure. But strength alone does not bring peace. A cruel madness, whispered by Hera, clouded his mind one night, and in his delirium, Heracles struck down those he loved most. When he awoke, the silence of his home broke him.
Seeking redemption, he journeyed to Delphi, where the oracle spoke through the mist. To cleanse your soul, you must serve King Eurystheus and complete 12 labors that no man can endure. And so began the 12 trials of Heracles. His first task took him to the hills of Nemea, where a lion's roar shook the earth. Its hide could not be pierced by blade or arrow. Heracles met the beast not with fear, but with resolution. When steel failed, he used his hands, wrestling the lion beneath the fading sun until the forest grew still. From its skin he made his armor, the mark of a man who faced his own darkness and lived. Next came the Hydra of Lerna, a serpent with many heads. Each time one was cut, 2 more grew. Heracles fought beside his nephew, Iolaus, burning each wound before new heads could rise. When at last the monster fell, Heracles buried its immortal head beneath a stone, a reminder that evil can never be destroyed, only contained. He journeyed on to capture the Cyrenaean hind with hooves of gold, to tame the Erymanthian boar, to cleanse the Augean stables in a single day. Each task tested not his strength, but his patience, his wit, his endurance. He faced the Stymphalian birds, their wings sharp as blades. He captured the Cretan bull, glowing with wild fury, and stole the mares of Diomedes, who fed on flesh, and journeyed to steal the belt of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons. He fetched the cattle of Geryon from the edge of the world, plucked the golden apples of the Hesperides, and finally descended into the Underworld to bring back Cerberus, the 3-headed guardian of Hades. When Heracles returned, carrying the beast in chains of silence, even the gods bowed in quiet respect. His labors had not been punishment, they had been transformation. Through struggle, he had become not divine, but deeply human. The pain that once chained him became the bridge between gods and men. And when his mortal life ended, the fire that claimed him did not destroy, it freed. Heracles rose among the stars, finding peace at last beside the Father who had set his path. And somewhere in the night sky, when the air is still and the heart listens, one can almost hear the echo of his footsteps, steady, strong, eternal.
In the quiet age between gods and men, when the sea still whispered secrets to the sky, there lived a young man named Perseus, a prince fated for impossible glory. His story began not with triumph, but with fear. His mother, Danae, had been locked in a bronze chamber by her father, the king, after a prophecy foretold that her son would one day bring his end. Yet through the golden reign of Zeus, Perseus was born, a child of divine light destined to challenge both fate and fear. Cast into the sea with his mother, he was found by kind fishermen and grew strong under the watchful gaze of the gods.
One day, the cruel king Polydectes demanded a gift no mortal could bring, the head of Medusa, the Gorgon whose gaze could turn any living thing to stone. The hall fell silent, for even warriors trembled at her name. But Perseus, young and unbroken, bowed his head. "I will bring you her head," he said softly, "not from pride, but from purpose." The gods heard, and for the first time smiled. Hermes appeared in a shimmer of wind, gifting him winged sandals to fly, and a curved blade sharper than reason. Athena offered a polished shield, one so bright that it could reflect truth itself. With these gifts, Perseus set out beyond the edges of the known world. His path led him over sleeping seas and through whispering winds until he reached the land of eternal dusk, where the Gorgons lay dreaming. The air was heavy with silence, and the stones around him seemed alive, remnants of those who had come before and failed. He walked slowly, heart steady, eyes fixed not on what was before him, but on what was reflected in the shield. There she lay, Medusa, her hair alive with serpents, her face both terrible and sorrowful. For she had once been beautiful before a curse turned her grace into isolation. Perseus understood then that monsters are often born from pain, not evil. But the task was set, and fate must unfold. Moving like breath, he raised the blade. A whisper of wind, a flash of light, and silence. The serpents fell still. The world exhaled. He placed the head gently into a pouch lined with shadow, careful not to meet her eyes, even in death. As he left, the morning broke for the first time in that place, as if light itself had been waiting for her release. But Perseus's journey did not end there. On his return, he came upon the coast of Ethiopia, where a princess named Andromeda was chained to a rock by the sea, a sacrifice to a sea monster sent by the gods. The waves roared, but Perseus, guided by courage rather than command, descended from the skies. With one strike, he freed her, and together they watched the tide recede, leaving behind the ruins of fear. When he returned home, Perseus did not boast. He laid Medusa's head before the king, and with one final glance turned tyranny into stone. The kingdom was freed, but Perseus felt no victory, only calm. He had faced horror and found compassion, had battled monsters and discovered humanity. In the end, he placed the head upon Athena's shield, where it became her emblem, a reminder that even the darkest powers can serve the light when guided by wisdom. And as Perseus aged, the stars above seemed to follow him, tracing his journey in quiet arcs. To this day, when the night is clear and the air is still, one can see his constellation, the hero forever walking between shadow and starlight.
In the age when Athens was young and its marbles still whispered of dreams, there lived a prince named Theseus, a man born of quiet courage and quiet sorrow. His story was not one of rage or conquest, but of a single journey into darkness, guided by the light of love. Every 9 years, a ship from Athens sailed across the sea to Crete, carrying 14 young souls, 7 boys and 7 girls, to be sacrificed to the Minotaur, the monster that lived deep within the labyrinth of King Minos. It was said that the beast was half man, half bull, a creature of hunger, forever lost in the maze built to contain it. When Theseus heard of this, he felt a stirring within him, not of pride, but of duty. "I will go," he said, his voice calm, "and I will end this." The people wept, for they had already lost too many sons. But the prince only smiled softly. There must be an end to fear. So he boarded the black-sailed ship, his heart steady as the tide. The voyage was quiet. The sea moved gently, like a cradle of fate. When they arrived in Crete, the island shimmered beneath the sun, white stone, blue water, and the shadow of the labyrinth stretching far beneath the palace. There he met Ariadne, daughter of King Minos. She was kind, and her eyes carried the sadness of someone who understood cages, whether made of stone or blood. She gave Theseus a spool of golden thread. "Tie this to the entrance," she whispered, "and let it lead you home." That night, beneath the glow of torchlight, Theseus entered the labyrinth. The air was thick and still. The walls seemed alive, echoing every breath. With each step, the golden thread uncoiled behind him, a fragile promise that light still existed somewhere. Deeper he went, through corridors that twisted like thoughts, through chambers where silence waited like a predator. And then he heard it, the low breath, the heavy steps, the Minotaur. When he saw it, he felt not hatred, but pity. The creature's eyes, wild and lost, glowed with both rage and despair. It was not born evil, it was born trapped. Theseus understood, and in that understanding he found peace. The struggle was brief, silent, almost merciful. When it was over, the labyrinth grew still again. Theseus stood for a long while, hand upon the cold stone, listening to the faint echo of his heartbeat. Then slowly he followed the thread, golden, steady, leading him back toward dawn. At the entrance, Ariadne waited, her eyes bright with hope and fear. Together they left Crete beneath the rising sun, the black sails turning white against the wind. Yet destiny is never without sorrow. On his return, Theseus forgot to change the sails, as he had promised his father, Aegeus, a sign that he was safe. Seeing the black sails, Aegeus believed his son was lost, and from the cliffs of Athens he cast himself into the sea,
that still bears his name, the Aegean. When Theseus learned of this, he stood upon the shore for a long time, silent. He had slain a monster, but could not conquer fate. The sea whispered softly around him, carrying both loss and forgiveness. For the true labyrinth, he realized, was not made of stone, but of the human heart.
When the wind blew across the plains of Troy, it carried the scent of fate, the quiet promise of glory and grief intertwined. Among all the warriors who gathered beneath the golden banners of Greece, one shone brighter and burned faster than all the rest. Achilles, son of Peleus and Thetis, half man and half divine. His mother, fearing for his mortality, had dipped him in the river Styx as an infant, holding him by the heel, the one part untouched by immortality. Thus his strength became legend, and his weakness prophecy. Achilles was not born for peace. From the moment he could walk, he ran toward battle like fire drawn to wind. Yet in his heart there was music, for before he was a killer, he was a dreamer. His teacher, Chiron the wise centaur, taught him not just how to wield a spear, but how to read the stars, to play the lyre, to understand sorrow. Remember, Chiron said, a hero is not the one who fights hardest, but the one who feels deepest. Years later, when the War of Troy began, a war born from beauty and pride, Achilles sailed with the Greeks, his armor gleaming like sunlight on the sea. The walls of Troy rose high, and the years fell heavy. 10 summers passed like sighs. The heroes of both sides faded one by one, yet Achilles remained, untouchable, unstoppable, until pride touched his heart. When King Agamemnon took from him the captive Briseis, Achilles withdrew from battle, and silence fell over the Greek camp. Without him, hope withered. But then came Patroclus, his dearest friend, his other self, who donned Achilles' armor and led the army forward. The gods watched, knowing the pattern of tragedy could not be broken. Patroclus fell beneath Hector's spear, and with him the warmth of Achilles' heart died too. The world seemed to still. The sea turned gray. And then the hero rose again, not as a man, but as a storm. His wrath was a song the heavens could not silence. When Achilles met Hector before the walls of Troy, the city held its breath. Their clash was brief, 2 fates colliding. When it ended, Achilles stood alone beneath the crimson sky, holding not victory, but sorrow. For even gods cannot heal the wound of love lost. When he returned Hector's body to the gates of Troy, he did so not out of mercy, but understanding. In his silence, there was grace. Yet destiny waited. His end came not in the chaos of battle, but in a single whisper, an arrow guided by Apollo, striking his heel, the one place where immortality did not reach. As he fell, the world grew still again. The war raged on, but Achilles drifted beyond its noise, into a peace neither mortal nor God could name. They say the sea carried his spirit home, and in the waves one can still hear his melody, the song of Troy, both fierce and tender, echoing forever between life and legend.
When the fires of Troy had finally faded into smoke and the cries of war fell silent, one man stood upon the shore, watching the sea breathe. His name was Odysseus, king of Ithaca, the thinker among warriors, the wanderer among kings. The world would remember him not for his strength, but for his mind, for the patience that endures when swords grow dull. His story was not of conquest, but of return. Yet the road home would take 10 long years. 10 years of winds, whispers, and lessons written by the sea itself. As he set sail from Troy, the gods watched, some with favor, some with fury. Poseidon, lord of the seas, bore a quiet anger toward Odysseus for blinding his son, the Cyclops Polyphemus. And so, each time Odysseus thought he saw his home upon the horizon, the wind turned against him. The first island he reached was that of the Lotus Eaters, where his men tasted flowers that made them forget all longing. He dragged them back to the ship, tears in his eyes, for he knew forgetting is the sweetest curse. Then came the island of the Cyclops, where the air smelled of fire and milk. Trapped in a cave with the giant Polyphemus, Odysseus spoke not with his sword, but his wit. He gave the monster wine, named himself no one, and struck when the creature slept. As they fled, he could not help but shout his true name to the sea, and that pride would cost him a decade. Storm after storm carried him to strange lands. On Aeolia, the wind god gave him a bag filled with every breeze in the world. But his men, thinking it gold, opened it, and the tempest carried them back to the beginning. On the island of Circe, the sorceress turned his crew into swine, but her heart softened when she saw his courage. For a year they stayed, half as prisoners, half as guests. And when they left, Circe whispered, "To return home, you must first descend into death." So he went to the Underworld, where the shadows spoke. There he met the spirit of Tiresias, the blind prophet, who told him, "You will reach home, but only when you learn what it means to be lost." He saw the ghosts of fallen heroes, Achilles, who longed for the simple light of day more than eternal fame. When Odysseus returned to the sea, his heart was quieter. He passed the sirens, their voices sweet as honey, and had his men tie him to the mast so he could listen without succumbing. He sailed between Scylla and Charybdis, the monster and the whirlpool, losing men but never his course. Each wave became a test, each dawn a lesson in humility. Finally, after 10 years adrift, the waves carried him to the shore of Ithaca. His beard was white with salt and sorrow,
his eyes still burning with memory. There he found his home overrun by suitors, men feasting in his hall, courting his wife Penelope, who had waited through endless nights, weaving and unweaving hope. Disguised as a beggar, Odysseus walked among them, unseen. With his son Telemachus, he revealed himself at last, not in rage, but in calm certainty. The bow that none could string bent easily in his hands. One by one, arrogance fell silent. When the hall grew still, he embraced Penelope, the only constant in a world of storms. And in that embrace the years vanished. The hero who had wandered the edges of earth and death found peace not in victory, but in return. They say that on quiet nights in Ithaca, when the wind moves gently through the olive trees, you can still hear him, the man who outwitted the gods and found his way home through patience, love, and an unbreakable longing for the shore.
In the twilight of the heroic age, when the sea still shimmered with the reflections of the gods, there was a young man named Jason, a prince with a quiet fire in his eyes. His destiny was not forged by war, but by a journey that would sail across both ocean and soul. His tale began in exile. As a child, he was taken from his father's throne in Iolcus by his uncle Peleus, who had seized the crown. But prophecy had whispered that one day a man wearing one sandal would return to reclaim what was rightfully his. Years passed, and that day came. Jason appeared at the gates of the city, calm, barefoot on one foot, the river still glistening on his skin. Peleus knew the omen had come alive. But kings seldom surrender to fate. With a smile that hid fear, Peleus said, "Bring me the golden fleece from the edge of the world, and the throne shall be yours." Jason bowed. "Then I shall return with it," he said. And so began the voyage of the Argo. He gathered heroes from across Greece, men whose names would become constellations: Orpheus, whose music tamed storms; Atalanta, swift as dawn; and Heracles, whose strength still echoed through the mountains. Together they became the Argonauts, and the sea became their teacher. The Argo sailed past islands where sirens sang, and through cliffs that clashed like teeth. The stars guided them by night, and by day the horizon shimmered like a promise. When they reached Colchis, the land of the Golden Fleece, the air shimmered with danger and wonder. The fleece hung in a sacred grove, guarded by a serpent that never slept. Yet Jason did not face this alone. In Colchis he met Medea, a princess and sorceress whose eyes reflected both fire and loneliness. She saw in him not just courage, but kindness, something the gods themselves had forgotten. With her magic and her love, Jason overcame the impossible. The serpent's eyes grew heavy. The fleece fell into his hands like light captured in silk. As dawn rose, the lovers fled across the sea, the Argo trailing gold upon the waves. For a time their hearts were free, but even heroes cannot escape the shadow of destiny.
When Jason returned home, Peleus refused his promise, and tragedy unfolded. Medea's love, once bright as flame, turned sorrowful as ash. In the years that followed, Jason wandered, not with ships or swords, but with memories. The fleece, once a symbol of victory, became a reminder that every dream bears a price. Yet, in the quiet of old age, as he sat by the broken hull of the Argo, Jason finally smiled. He had crossed the world and lost much, but he had known wonder and love, and the sound of the sea whispering his name. When the wind rose that night, it lifted the sails one last time, as if the Argo remembered him, and carried his spirit gently toward the horizon, where all heroes rest.
Close your eyes and listen for a lyre that seems to float between worlds. A sound so gentle it could teach sorrow how to breathe. That music belongs to Orpheus, son of Calliope, whose songs could soften stone and ask rivers to remember their source. When he met Eurydice, the world tilted a fraction toward grace. The air around them learned a calmer rhythm, and even the bees seemed to hover more kindly above the meadows. Their love did not arrive with thunder. It unfolded like dawn, patient and inevitable, filling ordinary hours with a light that did not ask to be noticed. On the day joy became quiet, Eurydice walked among tall grasses where sunlight stitched gold into every blade. A serpent, hidden like a bad dream under waking life, rose, struck, withdrew. The meadow kept its color, but the warmth left the hour. Orpheus held her, spoke her name as if the syllables could anchor her to the shore of breath. When the last whisper faded, the world remembered how to be cold. Grief is a gate that opens downward, and Orpheus, unwilling to live where she did not, gathered his lyre and went where mortals do not go. He walked past the borders of comfort, through caves that had the voice of windless nights, down corridors of shadow where memory wears a quieter face. At the black river, he played. The ferryman's eyes, which had learned to be stone, softened the way snow yields to early spring. The oar dipped. The boat obeyed. Even Cerberus, whose 3 throats were forged for warning, laid down with the simple trust of a tired guardian and listened. When Orpheus stood before the thrones of Hades and Persephone, he did not argue or boast or invent a hero's claim. He played. The melody held no tricks, only truth. The curve of Eurydice's laughter, the weight of her hand in evening light, the silence of an empty cup that still remembers being shared. Tears, which seldom visit kings below, rose like silver in the dim hall. Hades, who knows the exact price of everything that ends, heard the unpriced thing, love, and spoke with a fairness sharpened by eternity. Take her back. Walk ahead. Do not look behind until you both see the sun. Hope is a delicate animal. It runs when chased, and it startles when named. Orpheus bowed, breathed once, and began the long ascent. His feet learned the narrow patience of dark paths. His music, now quiet, moved inside his ribs like a second pulse. Behind him, lighter than rumor, followed Eurydice, not yet fully returned, a candle sheltered by a hand. The world above pulled like a tide. The last tunnel turned thinner, brighter, The air tasted of leaves, of rain that remembers sky. He wished to share this with her. Just one glance, a promise that the day was waiting with its warm shoulder. In love, the hardest vow is the one that denies tenderness. He kept his eyes forward, but fear is also a kind of music, and it has a way of changing the tempo. What if the bargain had dissolved? What if only his footsteps climbed and hers were merely echo? The mouth of the cave grew into morning. He stepped out, felt the sun reach for his face like relief that can finally use its wings, and in the instant before certainty, he turned to bring her into it. The rules of the underworld are not cruel, they are accurate. The light touched no one there. Eurydice, who had been almost, nearly, just about, reached toward him with a softness that could have taught the wind new manners. "It is all right," her eyes said, but her mouth had not the time. She fell backward into the law of endings, and his name launched into brightness, mist. Orpheus did not break the world with his grief. He let it stand and filled it with music. He wandered fields where they had once counted bees, walked roads that remembered her steps, and played so that absence could learn to listen without devouring. Some say he refused all other love. Some say he turned the shape of longing into so pure a song that the gods themselves forgot to be distant. And the lesson? It is not that love fails. Love reached the gates of death and was granted a path. It is that trust must sometimes be more faithful than our fear, that a promise has its own breath and must be allowed to walk ahead of us without being checked by our need to be sure. If you listen closely, under the softest parts of night, you can hear a lyre teaching shadows to be kind, a melody that does not resurrect what was lost, but lays a hand on the shoulder of loss until it sits down, sighs, and becomes a companion the living can bear.
In the city of white marble and endless sunlight, there lived a sculptor named Pygmalion. His hands could persuade stone to dream. He carved faces that seemed on the verge of speaking, bodies that held the warmth of imagined breath. Yet among all his creations, he found none that mirrored the tenderness he longed for. The world around him was noisy with shallow laughter and careless hearts. He began to turn away from people, finding solace in the quiet certainty of his craft. "If the gods cannot show me love," he once whispered to the sea wind, "then I shall shape it myself." And so he began. From a single block of ivory, he carved the form of a woman, not as others saw beauty, but as his soul remembered it. The curve of her neck caught the memory of moonlight. The stillness of her lips held the secret of words unsaid. When the last chisel stroke fell, silence filled the room, like air waiting to be taught how to move again. He named her Galatea. Days turned into nights, and Pygmalion's workshop became a shrine. He spoke to her softly, as one speaks to a memory too precious to disturb. He brought her flowers, dressed her in silk, and imagined her cheeks warmed by dawn. To others he had lost his mind, but in his loneliness he had found a kind of purity, a devotion untainted by doubt or demand. The gods, who listen even when mortals forget they are listening, took notice. On the day of the festival of Aphrodite, Pygmalion walked to the temple. The air shimmered with rose petals and prayers. Kneeling before the goddess, he said, "Grant life not to all that I desire, but to what I have already loved." There was no thunder, no sign, only a soft tremor in the heart of the air. He returned home as one returns from a dream half believed. The workshop was quiet. Galatea stood as always, luminous and still. Yet the room felt warmer, as though something unseen had begun to breathe. He reached out, not daring to hope, and the stone, cool as truth, softened beneath his hand. Her eyes opened, slow, uncertain, like dawn remembering how to rise again. When she looked at him, she smiled, not with surprise, but with recognition, as though love had been waiting for this exact moment to learn the word begin. From that day forward, Galatea walked beside him, and the statue's stillness became the heartbeat of their home. The people marveled, calling it a miracle, but to Pygmalion it was something quieter, the completion of a prayer spoken honestly enough for the universe to hear. In time, their story became a symbol, not of magic, but of the power that belief holds when it is both humble and patient. For love, when true, is not the wish to possess, but the courage to give life to what we cherish, even if it may one day walk away. And the lesson? Creation born of love always carries its own soul. When we give our best self to something, a dream, a work, a person, it remembers, it breathes. And in the still hours of night, when we think we are alone, it may open its eyes, quietly, and smile.
There was once a girl whose beauty was so luminous that even the light seemed to pause beside her, uncertain of its own purpose. Her name was Psyche, a name that meant soul. Yet beauty, when it shines too bright, often blinds those around it. The people began to whisper her name in temples, offering flowers once meant for Aphrodite herself. The goddess of love, hearing her own altars grow quiet, felt the sting of jealousy, that most human of divine emotions, and so she summoned her son Eros, god of desire. "Make her fall," Aphrodite said, "but not into love. Let her love what will destroy her." But destiny, like wind through silk, rarely keeps its intended path. When Eros looked upon Psyche, his hand trembled. The arrow meant to wound another heart grazed his own. He fled, leaving her untouched, and from that touch, unmade, love began. Soon after, Psyche was taken from her family by a strange wind that carried her to a palace unlike any built by mortal hands. It shimmered with invisible grace, and every wall seemed to breathe kindness. A voice, unseen, welcomed her. "All you desire is here," it said, "but you must never look upon your husband's face." By day, she wandered through gardens that sang with unseen birds. By night, her lover came, tender, gentle, a warmth that asked for no proof. His voice was music, his hands a promise, and in that unseen presence, Psyche found peace. Yet the human heart, fragile in its longing for certainty, cannot rest upon mystery forever. Her sisters, visiting from afar, planted the seed of doubt. "If he truly loved you, would he hide from you?" they whispered. The thought grew like ivy,
twining around her trust, until one night Psyche lit a lamp. The flame revealed Eros himself, the god of love, asleep beside her. His wings shimmered like dawn folded into silence. In awe, she leaned closer, and a single drop of oil fell from the lamp onto his shoulder. He woke, eyes filled with sorrow deeper than anger. "Love cannot live where there is no trust," he said, and vanished into the night. The palace crumbled into mist, and Psyche found herself alone, the sky vast and indifferent above her. But love, once real, leaves a mark that does not fade. Determined to find him again, she sought Aphrodite, who set her 4 impossible tasks, each meant to break her. She was to sort a mountain of seeds before dawn. She was to fetch golden wool from wild rams. She was to draw water from the source guarded by dragons. And finally, she was to descend into the underworld to bring back a box of divine beauty. Each task a mirror of patience, courage, endurance, and surrender. Help came in quiet forms: an ant that carried seeds, a reed that whispered, an eagle that fetched, a tower that spoke. For every step, the universe conspired not to crush her, but to reveal her. When she returned exhausted, curiosity, that twin of love, tempted her to open the box. Within it was sleep, soft and deep. It spilled over her like a sigh, and she fell still. But Eros, having never stopped loving her, found her where she lay and kissed the sleep away. The gods, moved by their faith in each other, blessed their union. Psyche was granted immortality, so that soul and love would never again be parted. And their lesson lives quietly beneath the noise of time. Love and soul are not separate things. To love deeply is to let oneself be transformed, to face loss, fear, and silence, and emerge not unbroken, but awake.
They say it began not with hatred, but with beauty, with a single apple of gold, and 3 goddesses who could not agree on what beauty meant. Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite stood before a shepherd prince named Paris, each offering him a gift to win his judgment: power, wisdom, or love. He chose love, the most dangerous of all. Aphrodite smiled, for she knew what mortals never learn. Love can build kingdoms, but it can also unmake them. And so she promised him Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world. But Helen was already queen of Sparta, wife to King Menelaus. Destiny, once awakened, rarely asks permission. When Paris sailed across the Aegean to her shore, the wind carried both longing and warning. In her eyes, he saw not conquest, but recognition, that quiet shock when 2 flames realize they burn the same way. The world paused for a heartbeat, then it began to unravel. Their love was a whisper that turned into a storm. They fled together, crossing waters that had seen too many prayers. Behind them, Sparta's halls echoed with betrayal. Menelaus's anger became a cry that reached 1,000 kings. From that cry, an army rose, 1,000 ships, sails like teeth biting the horizon. The Greeks came for Helen, for honor, for vengeance.
But perhaps, beneath all that, they came for themselves, for proof that beauty could be contained, that desire could be punished, that the world still made sense. In Troy, Paris and Helen lived suspended between passion and prophecy. The city welcomed them with uneasy smiles. The priests whispered omens that smelled of smoke. Yet in their private chambers, love was still love, tender, frightened, real. Helen often stood by the walls at dusk, watching the sea turn bronze, wondering whether she was the curse or the mirror of what men already carried in their hearts. Paris would hold her hand, promising that love could outlast the war waiting at their gates. But love, though vast, is not armor. The war came. Spears glittered like falling stars. Years passed. Heroes fell. Troy, once radiant, grew heavy with ash and mourning. When the gates burned and the towers cracked, Paris lay dying beneath the shadow of his choice. Helen found him, the boy who once chose her over the world, and for a moment, time grew still. "Would you choose the same again?" she whispered. He smiled, weak but certain. "Always," he said, and closed his eyes. Later, as she was taken back to Greece, the sea seemed to ask her no questions, perhaps because it already knew the answers. And the lesson left behind was not of guilt, but of gravity. That beauty is never a sin, but a responsibility. That love, when given the power to change the world, will always do so, whether by building it anew or burning it down.
There was once a meadow where spring never ended, where every breeze carried the scent of green beginnings. There walked Persephone, daughter of Demeter, goddess of the harvest, a girl made of laughter and morning light. The flowers followed her footsteps, even time slowed, unwilling to let her pass too quickly. But far below that golden world, Hades, lord of the underworld, ruled in solitude. His kingdom was vast and orderly, filled with shadows that obeyed. Yet even kings can feel the ache of silence. When he saw Persephone, radiant, alive, something within him remembered warmth. It was not lust that moved him, but longing for balance, for color in a world of gray. So one day, as she reached for a bloom that had not yet opened, the ground parted softly beneath her. The air folded around her like sleep, and the world above grew still. Demeter searched the earth, her grief spreading like drought. Fields turned to dust, rivers thinned, and the song of life quieted. Meanwhile, in the dim beauty of his realm, Hades treated Persephone not as a prisoner, but as a guest. He showed her the silent groves of asphodel, where souls wandered gently.
He gave her a throne beside his own, carved from obsidian, but polished by time. The underworld was not cruel, only forgotten. In its calm, Persephone began to see what no mortal ever had, that death was not the opposite of life, but its twin, holding its hand in secret. She learned the quiet rhythm of endings, and in that stillness, something between them began to grow, slow, hesitant, but real. But love born in darkness carries the scent of loss. When Hermes arrived to bring her home, Persephone wept, not from fear, but from a divided heart. Before she left, Hades offered her a single pomegranate, its seeds glowing like small red suns. She ate 6, perhaps by fate, perhaps by choice. When she rose to the surface, Demeter's joy broke the earth open again. Crops bloomed, rivers laughed, and color returned. But joy is never whole when shared with absence. Because of the fruit, Persephone was bound to return below 6 months of every year to reign beside Hades as queen, 6 months to walk beneath her mother's sun. Thus were born the seasons. When she descends, the earth sleeps. When she rises, it wakes, and between them lies the heartbeat of the world. Hades found not a captive, but a companion. Persephone found not darkness, but depth. Their love became the balance that holds life itself, light and shadow, loss and renewal, grief and grace. And the lesson whispered by their tale is gentle but unyielding. Love is not always possession. Sometimes it is permission. The greatest bonds are not those that chain, but those that allow the other to return, to come and go, to be free and still be known. For even the gods in their endlessness understood that nothing truly belongs to us, not even the light we hold, but the warmth we share before it fades.
Once, in a forest where sound seemed to linger longer than it should, there lived a nymph named Echo. Her laughter was soft, her spirit playful, and her voice was the kind that could turn silence into melody. But Echo had a flaw, or perhaps a gift that became one. She could only repeat the last words spoken to her. Hera, in a moment of divine jealousy, had cursed her for distracting Zeus with chatter, and so Echo's world became an echo of others, a life lived in reflection, never in origin. One day, as she wandered through the woods, she saw him, Narcissus, the boy whose beauty made even the sunlight hesitate. He moved like water, calm yet unreachable, and his eyes held the kind of depth that could make someone forget to breathe. Echo followed him, her heart stirring like wind in leaves. She longed to speak, to tell him that the forest seemed more alive when he walked through it, but all she could do was repeat his words. When he called, "Who's there?" she answered softly, "There." When he whispered, "Come," she whispered, "Come." And when he said, "Let us meet," she rushed to him, arms open with all the hope her curse had denied. But Narcissus recoiled,
eyes filled not with cruelty but confusion. "I could never love someone who is not truly their own voice," he said, and walked away. Her heart cracked, not loudly, but like frost beneath a dawn that comes too late. Echo faded, her form thinning until only her voice remained. It still lingers, they say, in caves and mountains, repeating what others dare to say first, a fragment of love unanswered. As for Narcissus, the gods watched his pride and decided to teach him what reflection truly means. One morning, by a still pond, he bent to drink, and there he saw it, a face more perfect than he had ever imagined, eyes that knew him, lips that moved when his did. He fell in love instantly, not realizing it was his own reflection. Days turned to nights, and he stayed, unable to leave the water that held his illusion. Hunger came, thirst came, but he could not look away. He whispered to the image, "I love you," and heard it back, soft as a sigh, "I love you." It was the echo of his own longing, his own voice returning like a ghost. When at last he realized the truth, it was too late. He reached for the image, and the surface broke, scattering the face into ripples. He fell forward gently, as if surrendering to himself. When the forest grew quiet again, a flower bloomed where he had fallen, white petals with a golden heart, bending always towards its reflection in the stream. They named it Narcissus. And the lesson that breathes beneath this sorrow is timeless, that love without awareness becomes hunger. To love only the reflection is to starve the soul. Yet Echo and Narcissus together remind us of something tender, that every echo begins with a voice, and every reflection begins with light. Love must meet in the space between the two, where one heart listens and the other finally learns to see.
Long before she became a monster, Medusa was a girl. Her hair shimmered like threads of sunlight, and her eyes carried the stillness of deep waters. She served as a priestess in Athena's temple, pure, devoted, untouched by vanity. The sea wind would slip through marble columns, playing with her hair, as if the gods themselves admired her beauty. But beauty, when it grows too bright, casts shadows even the divine cannot ignore. Poseidon, lord of the sea, saw her one night by the temple steps. The waves crashed louder that evening, as if mirroring his desire. Some say he seduced her, others whisper he forced her. But in either telling, the temple was defiled, and Athena's wrath awoke. The goddess did not punish Poseidon, for gods answer to none, but she turned her anger toward Medusa. Her once golden hair twisted into serpents. Her eyes became mirrors of terror. Anyone who looked upon her turned to stone. And so the girl who once brought stillness to hearts now froze them forever. Banished to the edge of the world, Medusa lived among shadows and whispers. Her reflection was her enemy. Even pools of rainwater betrayed her. Yet in the solitude of that cursed exile, something within her shifted. She began to see that the curse was also a kind of protection. No man could harm her now. No god could command her beauty. She had become both weapon and warning, the embodiment of power reclaimed from pain. The years passed like slow tides. Travelers who sought her out did not return, their statues marking the paths of arrogance. But one day Perseus came,
not with hatred, but with purpose. Sent by a king who sought her head as proof of valor, Perseus carried a mirrored shield and winged sandals. He approached her cave silently, guided by reflection. And when he raised his blade, Medusa slept, not in peace, but in exhaustion. With one stroke, he took her life. Yet from her blood, Pegasus, the winged horse, was born, a creature of purity, rising from tragedy. The world remembers Medusa as a monster, but perhaps she was something else, a reminder that beauty, when wounded, becomes wisdom. Her gaze was not evil, it was justice turned inward. It taught mortals that what they fear most is often their own reflection, the truth of what power and pain can become when the world refuses mercy. And so her legend lives not in the hiss of snakes, but in the silence after, the stillness of learning that even monsters were once innocent.
Deep beneath the island of Crete, where sunlight never reached and air carried the weight of silence, there stood a labyrinth, endless, intricate, alive. Its walls breathed the memory of those who entered and never returned. At its heart lived the Minotaur, half man, half bull, a creature born not of evil, but of shame. His mother, Pasiphae, was the queen of Crete, cursed by Poseidon to love a bull sent by the sea. From that curse came a child the gods themselves could not claim, strong as a storm, but with eyes that searched for belonging. King Minos, unable to face the sight of his wife's sin or his own complicity, ordered Daedalus, the greatest craftsman, to build a maze so vast that even memory would lose its way. And there the child was hidden, not to be healed, but to be forgotten. The years turned. The boy grew into the beast the world whispered about. His breath echoed through tunnels. His hunger became legend. Yet what he hungered for most was not flesh, but light. He did not understand why he must be both man and monster, only that footsteps came and screams followed and silence returned heavier each time. Every 9 years, Athens sent 7 boys and 7 girls into the labyrinth, sacrifices for the monster beneath the king's pride. And those stories said he devoured them. Some believed he only wanted their company, their voices, their faces. Proof that he existed. Then came Theseus, Prince of Athens, young, brave, and certain of purpose. He entered the labyrinth with a thread given by Ariadne, Minos' daughter, to guide him back. In the darkness, he walked with steady steps, hearing the slow breathing of the creature ahead. When they met, there was no roar, only stillness. The Minotaur looked at him, and for a moment he seemed almost human. Perhaps he remembered the son he had never felt, or the mother who had once held him without fear. Theseus raised his blade, and in that breath before death, the Minotaur did not resist. Some say he even bowed his head, as if surrendering not to a hero, but to release.
When the labyrinth grew quiet again, Theseus followed the thread back to daylight, and the maze stood hollow, a monument not to victory, but to misunderstanding. For what is a monster if not something made by those who cannot bear their own reflection? The Minotaur was not born cruel. He was made a prison of other people's sins. His story is not one of savagery, but solitude, of being trapped between what you are and what the world insists you must be. And in the silence of that labyrinth, perhaps his spirit still walks, tracing walls that were never meant to confine him, searching not for prey, but for a door that opens to forgiveness.
At the edge of the world, where rivers of darkness meet the shores of the dead, there stands a gate no mortal can cross uninvited. Its pillars are carved from obsidian, its hinges moan like wind through bones, and there, at the threshold between life and what lies beyond, waits Cerberus, the three-headed hound of Hades, born of the monstrous union between Echidna, the mother of beasts, and Typhon, the storm of chaos. Cerberus was no mere creature of terror. He was balance incarnate, a guardian between worlds, neither cruel nor kind, simply necessary. Each of his three heads watched a different truth. One faced the realm of the living, one looked toward the land of the dead, and one peered inward, into the quiet that even gods fear. His fur shimmered like night soaked in starlight, and from his jaws dripped fire that glowed not to burn, but to warn. His task was simple. None who entered the underworld could return without Hades' leave. Yet beneath his duty was something strangely pure. The souls that crossed the Styx often trembled, but to those who came without malice, Cerberus did not snarl. He would lower one head, as if in greeting, letting them pass into the shadowed peace of eternity. But to those who sought to cheat death, to defy the natural end, he became the storm itself, a roar that could shatter will, a reminder that even courage has borders. Many tried to pass him, Hercules, Orpheus, and Aeneas among them. Hercules came not to destroy, but to prove strength tempered with mercy. With hands of iron he wrestled the beast not in rage, but in respect. Cerberus fought fiercely, yet never blindly. His growl was thunder, but his heart loyal. When the heroes subdued him, he did not kill. Hades, amused by the mortal's audacity, allowed Hercules to bring Cerberus to the world above for a time. And when his task was done, the hound returned willingly to his post, as if even freedom felt wrong without purpose. There he waits still, beside the dark river, where the air hums with whispers of those who have crossed. Sometimes it is said the faint sound of a low growl can be heard in the wind, not of anger, but of warning, a reminder that some doors should remain closed. Yet Cerberus is not a monster to be feared, but a symbol of what keeps chaos in its place. For even death requires guardians, and in his patient watch, he teaches a quiet truth, that not all darkness is cruel. Some of it exists to protect, to ensure that endings are honored and that life, in its fragile brilliance, does not forget its boundaries.
In the marshes of Lerna, where fog clings to the water like memory, a shape moved beneath the surface, slow, coiling, eternal. It was said that the Hydra was born from Typhon and Echidna, siblings to monsters and storms. Its many heads writhed like rivers in pain, each eye glowing faintly with the pulse of ancient wrath. The air near its lair smelled of iron and salt, as though time itself bled there. Locals whispered that even the gods avoided Lerna's mist, for where Hydra slept, the boundary between life and decay blurred. The creature was not cruel for pleasure. It simply existed as nature's shadow, a reminder that destruction too had a place in creation. When one head was cut, two grew back in its place, not out of vengeance, but out of instinct, as if the world itself refused to let death be final. Each hiss, each ripple of its movement was like breath drawn from the underworld. To fight it was not to battle a monster, but to confront the persistence of chaos itself. Then came Heracles, strong, steady, sent by Eurystheus to prove his worth through impossible labors. Armed with his club and sword, he approached the swamp where the Hydra lay coiled in sleep. The ground trembled when he stepped into the marsh. The water darkened, and the mist seemed to whisper his name. When the first strike fell, the Hydra screamed, not in fear, but in awakening. Its heads lashed out in a storm of fury, hissing with ancient intelligence. Heracles swung again and again, each blow severing a head, only to see two rise where one had fallen. Sweat mixed with swamp water, the air stank of venom and smoke. Then, realizing brute strength was useless, Heracles called upon his nephew Iolaus, who brought fire, the element that consumes and purifies. Together they fought, Heracles striking, Iolaus burning each neck before it could grow anew. Slowly the hissing ceased, the mist fell silent, and the Hydra, vast and trembling, lowered its final head. Heracles raised his sword one last time, dipped in the creature's venom, and struck true. The marsh stilled, the sky opened, and for the first time in ages, wind crossed the waters freely. But even in death, the Hydra did not vanish completely. Heracles kept its blood, a poison both gift and curse. From it came weapons that could kill gods and doom heroes. The Hydra's lesson, whispered in every retelling, is not about destruction but endurance. It teaches that chaos never dies, it changes form. Cut it down and it multiplies. Fear it and it grows stronger. Only when met with fire, with courage sharpened by clarity, can it be transformed. And so the Hydra lives on, not in the swamps of Lerna, but in every heart that wrestles with its own darkness, learning that to conquer chaos is not to destroy it, but to understand its rhythm.
In the highlands of Lycia, where mountains glowed like embers at dusk, and wind carried the scent of molten stone, there roamed a creature that defied all reason. The villagers called it Chimera, a name whispered with both fear and awe. They said it was born of Echidna and Typhon, like many beasts of the old chaos, and shaped by the gods as a reminder that power, when unchecked, burns both creator and creation. The Chimera's form was an impossible harmony of conflict, the body of a lion, the head of a goat rising from its back, and a serpent for a tail, each part alive, breathing, hungry. From its mouth poured fire, not mere heat, but living flame, as if anger itself had been given breath. When it moved through valleys, the ground smoked beneath its steps. When it roared, the clouds trembled. Yet beyond its monstrous appearance, there was something almost divine in its symmetry, an echo of the wild beauty that lives where chaos meets order. It was said that the Chimera did not kill for pleasure, but to reclaim the balance that mortals disturbed. Villages had spread into sacred land, and the beast rose not out of evil, but out of instinct, the world's fever breaking through its own skin. Then came Bellerophon, hero of Corinth, proud and brave, guided by a vision and a curse. The oracle had told him, only with the wings of heaven could he defeat the fire of earth. And so, with the help of Athena, he tamed Pegasus, the winged horse born from Medusa's blood. Together, man and myth ascended the sky. From above, Bellerophon gazed upon the Chimera, its fire lighting the night like a moving sunrise. He loosed his spear, tipped with lead, and when the beast opened its jaws to roar, the molten metal melted into flame, suffocating it from within. The Chimera fell, trembling, the mountains sighing as though exhaling the breath of gods. But some say it did not die, that it sank into the earth, its fire becoming the heart of volcanoes, forever reminding men that destruction and creation share the same roots. For what is fire, if not the force that both consumes and transforms? And what is the Chimera, if not the face of everything within us that does not fit neatly into reason, the fears, the passions, the contradictions that breathe together inside the soul? The story of the Chimera whispers that monsters are not born evil. They are born misunderstood. Their fire burns because something within the world or within us has forgotten balance. And perhaps as we sleep, the echo of that roar still hums somewhere in the dark, not as a warning, but as a song, reminding us that light and destruction
have always shared the same flame. There are creatures that roar, and there are creatures that whisper, and among them none whispered more dangerously than the Sphinx. She was said to dwell on a rocky hill outside the gates of Thebes, her wings wide as silence, her gaze fixed on those who dared to pass. Half woman, half lion, with the calm of a statue and the patience of eternity, the Sphinx was not made to kill, she was made to question. The gods, weary of mortal arrogance, had placed her there as a test, to measure not strength, but understanding. When travelers approached, her voice would rise like wind through marble. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 at noon, and 3 in the evening? Those who answered wrongly were devoured, not out of hunger, but because ignorance consumes itself. Many came, thinking courage alone would suffice. None returned. The road to Thebes grew empty, lined with bones that glimmered faintly beneath the sun. And still she waited, unmoving, unmerciful, as if guarding not the city, but the secret of being human itself. Then one day Oedipus came, a prince scarred by prophecy, yet unbroken in spirit. He had wandered far, bearing the weight of riddles heavier than words. When he stood before her, she asked the question again. The wind paused, the world seemed to listen. Oedipus thought, not as a warrior, but as one who had known both loss and learning. "It is man," he said softly, "who crawls as a child, walks as an adult, and leans on a staff in old age." The Sphinx's eyes flickered, not with anger, but with recognition. For the first time, someone had not answered to escape death, but to understand life. She saw in him the reflection of her own purpose, to reveal truth through pain. And so she smiled, a small, quiet curve of lips. And then, as legend tells, she leapt from her perch, falling into the valley below. Some say she perished, others say she dissolved into dust and dawn, her spirit freed by comprehension. But the riddle remained, echoing through centuries, not about man's body, but his becoming. For every age of life asks its own question. Who are you when your steps change, but your soul remains the same? The Sphinx was never a monster of flesh. She was a mirror of consciousness, the boundary between knowing and not knowing. Her story lingers as a whisper to all who seek wisdom too quickly, that answers are not doors, but mirrors. And only when one learns to see themselves in the riddle, both question and reply, can they truly pass through the gates of understanding.
Before the temples of the gods were built, before thunder had a name, there were the Cyclopes, the one-eyed giants of creation. Born from Gaia and Uranus, they were not monsters of chaos, but craftsmen of the cosmos. Their single eye, large and unblinking, was not a flaw, but a focus, a vision fixed entirely on the heart of what must be made. Deep beneath Mount Etna, they forged in silence,
Each strike of their hammers shook the earth, ringing like the heartbeat of time itself. From their hands came the weapons of gods, Zeus's lightning bolt, Poseidon's trident, Hades' helmet of invisibility. They shaped the tools that shaped the world, and yet their names faded behind those they armed. The Cyclopes did not complain. They worked as though creation itself was a form of prayer. Fire was their breath, iron their faith. But the world, in its hunger for order, began to fear them. Giants with a single eye became symbols of savagery, their craft forgotten beneath legends of rage. And so, like many beings of power, they were cast into myth, remembered not for what they made, but for what they destroyed. Ages later, when Odysseus sailed across unknown seas, he came upon an island where one Cyclops remained, Polyphemus, son of Poseidon. He was not like the smiths of old. He was the echo of a race that had lost its purpose. Alone, herding sheep on volcanic slopes, he lived without society or song. When Odysseus and his men entered his cave, seeking food and shelter, Polyphemus welcomed them not with cruelty, but curiosity, until they betrayed that fragile trust. The hero's men stole and mocked, and when discovered, the giant's temper flared like the forge of his ancestors. His fury was the fury of all who had been misunderstood, those who gave creation only to be cursed for it. Yet, in his rage, tragedy bloomed. Odysseus, clever and desperate, offered him wine, calling himself nobody. When Polyphemus slept, Odysseus drove a sharpened stake through his single eye, extinguishing the last light of the world's first creators. As the giant screamed, the cave trembled. The sea roared as if remembering what had been lost. And though Odysseus escaped, he carried with him the guilt of victory, the knowledge that in blinding a monster, he had also blinded a maker. The Cyclops, through his story, teaches a quiet paradox, that vision is not in how many eyes we have, but in what we choose to see. Polyphemus saw through the surface of deceit too late, but perhaps his blindness was the beginning of something gentler, understanding. The fire of his kind still burns beneath the mountains, beneath the skin of the earth, whispering in the rumble of volcanoes. Every time thunder rolls or iron sings under hammer, perhaps it is the Cyclops still working, shaping light from darkness, teaching us that even fury, when guided, can forge the world anew.
The sea remembers every song ever sung to it, and some songs it never lets go. They say the sirens were born from the grief of the Muses, once handmaidens of Persephone, who were cursed when they failed to save her from the Underworld. Stripped of innocence but not beauty, they took to the cliffs and the waves, their voices carrying both heaven's sorrow and hell's sweetness. Half woman, half bird, they perched upon rocks rising from the foam, their eyes shining like storms held too long. Their song was not merely sound, it was memory given melody. It spoke to each listener differently,
To sailors, it sounded like home. To wanderers, like lost love. To kings, like the promise of peace. The sirens did not lie. They only reflected what the heart most longed for. And that, perhaps, was the cruelest truth. When ships passed too near, the men aboard would lean over the rails, hearts rising faster than the tide, until their vessels struck the rocks below. The waves swallowed them gently, as if the sea itself were answering the call they could not resist. It was said that the sirens never rejoiced in death. After each wreck, they sang softer, sadder, their melodies trembling like hands that once held hope. In their song was hunger, but not for flesh, for understanding, for someone to hear them and not be consumed. Then came Odysseus on his long journey home. He had heard of them the way one hears of ghosts, with awe and quiet fear. When his ship neared their island, he filled his men's ears with wax and ordered himself bound to the mast. "Let me hear," he said, "and let me live." As their song rose across the sea, the air itself seemed to shimmer. The sirens sang, not words, but invitations. "You have wandered long," they murmured. "Come rest where time cannot touch you. Come and remember what you've forgotten." The song wrapped around him like silk soaked in longing. Odysseus strained against his ropes, tears cutting through salt and wind, begging to be released. Yet his men rowed on, blind to beauty, deaf to ruin. And as the ship passed, the siren's song broke, not in rage, but in revelation. For the first time, their melody had failed, not because it was weaker, but because it had been understood. They saw in Odysseus not another victim, but a mirror of themselves, bound, yearning, human. In silence, they watched him vanish into the horizon, and the sea grew quiet once more. The sirens remind us that temptation is never the enemy. It is the teacher. It reveals where our desires are deepest, where our hearts have yet to find peace. To resist it is not to kill longing, but to see it clearly, to hold it gently and let it go. For in the end, the most dangerous voices are not those that call us from the sea, but those that echo softly within, promising comfort where growth must begin.
They say that when the blood of Medusa touched the earth, beauty was born from horror. From the crimson drops that fell upon the soil, a white stallion emerged, Pegasus, his mane radiant like morning light, his wings glistening as if woven from the first breath of dawn. Where others were born to walk, he was born to rise. The air bent beneath his grace, the clouds parted at his passing, and the gods themselves turned to watch. Pegasus was not a creature of war, nor of fear. He was the embodiment of what remains pure after the world's cruelties have been endured. Freedom born from suffering, light drawn from shadow. The poets called him the child of impossible contrast,
born from death, yet symbol of life, created in violence, yet destined for peace. Wherever he flew, springs of clear water burst from the earth, as though his hooves struck not the ground, but the hidden hearts of mountains. They say one of these, the fountain Hippocrene, became sacred to the Muses, a place where inspiration flowed for those who listened deeply enough. Pegasus was tamed by the hero Bellerophon, who sought him through dreams and divine whispers. Guided by Athena, Bellerophon found the winged horse at dawn beside a still lake. The hero approached slowly, offering silence instead of chains, reverence instead of force. Pegasus bowed, not in submission, but in understanding. Together they soared, man and myth intertwined, conquering the chimera, whose fire had devoured cities and skies alike. Yet, as always in mortal tales, victory gave birth to pride. Bellerophon, flushed with glory, sought to ascend to Olympus itself. But the higher they rose, the heavier his heart became. The gods do not share their thrones lightly, and Zeus sent a single gadfly to sting Pegasus mid-flight. The horse reared. Bellerophon fell, tumbling through the endless blue, his ambition breaking long before his body did. Pegasus, unbound once more, ascended alone, not punished, but purified. Zeus welcomed him among the stars, where he shines even now as the constellation Pegasus, eternal, untouchable, a reminder of balance between the mortal and the divine. Some say that when the world feels too heavy, you can still hear the soft beat of his wings beyond the clouds, not as thunder, but as reassurance. For Pegasus was never meant to be possessed. He was meant to be witnessed, to remind us that freedom is not escape, but return to one's truest self. And perhaps that is why, even in sleep, when our thoughts drift and our hearts loosen their grip, we sometimes dream of flying, not away from the world, but toward the light that has always waited above it.
In the desert, where the air stands still and time forgets to move, there lives a bird of fire, the phoenix. Neither beast nor god, it is the memory of both. Its feathers shimmer with the colors of sunset, gold, crimson, and a deep, eternal amber. And when it spreads its wings, the world seems to breathe again. The phoenix is not born as others are. It is born when it ends. Every few hundred years, when it feels the weight of its own time, it builds a nest of fragrant woods, myrrh, cinnamon, and cedar, and settles within it as the sky glows one final time. Then, without sorrow, it bursts into flame. The fire consumes but never destroys. From the ashes, a single heartbeat rises, faint at first, then steady, and the phoenix is reborn. To the ancient Greeks, this was not just myth, but metaphor, that death is not an end, but a doorway back into life. They saw in the phoenix a reflection of the cosmos itself, the stars that burn and die only to ignite again, the seasons that fade and return, the human spirit that breaks and rebuilds. The phoenix sings as it burns, a melody that no mortal ear can hold, a song of release, of forgiveness, of surrender to the rhythm of existence. Its cry is not pain, but peace. In its cycle lies the gentlest truth, that to live forever is not to remain unchanged, but to rise anew, again and again, without bitterness. Many have sought the phoenix, emperors, poets, and dreamers, hoping to catch its flame, to steal its secret. But the phoenix cannot be captured, for it is not a creature of possession. It exists in the moment between destruction and creation, in the breath between inhale and exhale, where all things are both dying and beginning. Those who have seen it say that the world grows silent around it. The sand stops shifting. The wind forgets to blow. And for one eternal second, even the sun seems to bow. When the phoenix takes flight, the air ripples with light that feels like memory, not of what was lost, but of what endures. It soars high above the earth, tracing circles of flame in the sky, leaving behind not ruin, but renewal. To dream of the phoenix, they say, is to dream of healing. To remember that even when everything falls apart, there is something within us that will always rise again. And as you drift deeper into sleep, perhaps you can feel it too. The warmth beneath your ribs, steady and glowing, like a small eternal ember. That is your phoenix, not far away in myth, but here, quietly waiting, reminding you that you too are a creature of renewal, that every night is its own ending, and every morning its own rebirth.
Close your eyes and imagine standing at the edge of the world, where light no longer argues with shadow, and silence feels like eternity breathing. This is where every journey ends, and another begins. Before you stretches the mouth of the Underworld, the realm of Hades. The gates are vast and ancient, carved not from stone, but from memory itself. The air here is neither cold nor warm. It simply is. A faint mist curls around your feet, carrying whispers, not of words, but of lives once lived. The first sound you hear is the slow ripple of water. The river Styx. It winds like a black serpent through the darkness, reflecting no stars, no moon, only the faint glow of souls crossing its current. The Greeks believed that every mortal must pass this river to enter the afterlife. But the crossing is not free. Standing by the bank is Charon, the ferryman of the dead. His eyes burn faintly, not with malice, but with patience. He has seen every face that ever lived, and every silence that followed. Draped in tattered robes the color of midnight, he extends a skeletal hand. The payment is small, a single coin placed beneath the tongue at burial. But its meaning is vast. A promise that one's life was completed, that there is no turning back. Those who arrive without coin wander the shore, their voices lost in endless wind until mercy or time guides them home. The boat itself is simple, carved of ash and shadow. As you step aboard, the wood creaks softly, like an old song being remembered. Sharon says nothing. He does not need to. His oar dips into the water, and the current carries you forward. The river's surface shimmers with ghostly faces, not frightening, only familiar, like memories half forgotten. Some smile, some weep, some simply watch, as if waiting for you to remember their names. The air hums with a strange tranquility. Time loses its edges. Even fear seems too heavy to follow. As the boat glides deeper, you notice that the darkness here is not empty, it is full of echoes, dreams, and the soft pulse of existence between worlds. The river Styx is not death, it is transition. The letting go of form, of noise, of everything that ever demanded to be understood. When the far bank appears, the mist thickens into silver. Beyond it, faint lights move, like candles seen through fog. That is the boundary of life as you once knew it. Sharon anchors the boat. His hollow gaze meets yours, not cruel, but kind in its indifference. You step off, and the boat drifts away, back into the river's song. Behind you, the world of the living fades into memory. Ahead, the realm of Hades opens, quiet, vast, eternal. And for the first time, you understand the underworld is not a place of punishment. It is a place of pause, where every soul, once weary from the noise of life, finally learns the sound of stillness.
As you step beyond the river, the air grows softer, not warmer, not colder, simply quieter. The mist lifts, revealing a vast plain stretching endlessly beneath a sky that does not move. This is the Asphodel Meadows, the field of ordinary souls. It is said that here wander those who lived neither as heroes nor as villains, but as the countless in-between, the people who woke, worked, loved a little, lost a little, and vanished without their names etched in song. The ground beneath your feet glows faintly, covered with pale blossoms, asphodel flowers, delicate, colorless, and eternal. They sway without wind, as if stirred by memory alone. Each petal seems to hold a whisper, a sigh, the trace of a life that once was. You walk and the landscape hums, a low vibration like a heartbeat too slow to be felt. There are figures in the distance, faint as shadows seen through mist. They move gently, aimlessly, neither joyful nor sorrowful, as if they have forgotten what either means. Their faces are soft, unburdened, not because they are free, but because they no longer remember what it meant to carry. The Greeks believed that drinking from the river Lethe, the river of forgetfulness, allowed souls to rest here without pain. And yet some still pause, turning their heads as though listening for something lost, a child's laughter, a name once spoken, the sound of rain. But memory fades like smoke. Even longing becomes gentle in this place. There are no punishments here, no crowns, no thrones, only stillness. The asphodel meadows are not heaven nor hell, but the middle breath of eternity, a realm of those who neither burned too bright nor too dim. You see a woman kneeling among the flowers, her hands tracing circles in the earth. For a moment she hums, a tune so faint it could be mistaken for wind. Then she stops, looking upward, though there is nothing above but endless gray. Perhaps she remembers that she once sang. Perhaps she does not, and yet that almost memory lingers, glowing like a candle beneath an ocean. Around her others drift, neither approaching nor leaving. It feels peaceful, but also infinite, a peace so complete it nearly becomes sorrow. For here time no longer bites, but neither does it heal. It simply exists, a quiet hum beneath eternity's breath. As you wander further, you begin to understand the strange beauty of this place. It is not emptiness, but balance, the life most people lived, the middle path between glory and despair. The flowers whisper as you pass, brushing against your legs like ghosts of moments once too small to notice. And somewhere deep within, you realize that this too is sacred, that even an ordinary life is a miracle, worthy of being remembered by the earth itself. The asphodel meadows are a lullaby, a song for the forgotten, sung not to be heard, but to be felt. And as you walk through it, your own memories start to blur, not lost, just softened, like ink fading on an old letter.
Beyond the gray stillness of the asphodel meadows lies a radiance that seems to breathe, a soft gold glow where the air itself feels alive. This is Elysium, the realm of heroes, poets, and souls who carried kindness like a torch through mortal life. The Greeks called it the Isle of the Blessed, the final home of those who lived with virtue or divine favor. But Elysium is not a paradise of noise or triumph. It is the quiet joy of completion, a place where effort no longer aches and every breath feels like harmony. As you step into its light, the ground beneath your feet changes. No longer ash and dust, but grass that hums faintly, green and warm, like the memory of spring. Rivers of silver thread through the meadows, their currents singing without words. Flowers of impossible colors bloom wherever your gaze lingers,
Some say they are the dreams of mortals who found peace. The sky is soft, neither day nor night, a perpetual dawn where everything glows from within. You hear laughter, not loud, not forced, but gentle, like the sound of someone remembering joy. Figures move across the fields, warriors who once fought for justice, poets who gave voice to truth, lovers who kept faith even in death. Yet they no longer bear armor nor sorrow. Their faces are calm, lit by the kind of peace that only comes after understanding. Here time is circular, not linear. There is no aging, no decay, only the rhythm of being. Souls meet and part like waves, knowing that reunion is always near. Some walk hand in hand with those they once loved. Others sit beneath olive trees, watching the endless horizon where the sea meets the sun. They do not speak of their past battles, nor their triumphs. Elysium does not ask for remembrance, only presence. You see Orpheus here strumming his lyre, not to mourn, but to heal. The notes drift through the air, weaving golden spirals that shimmer above the grass. You see Achilles walking beside Patroclus, their steps perfectly in sync, no longer bound by war or pride. You see women in white garments gathering petals that never wilt, scattering them along the riverbanks, a quiet ritual of eternity. Elysium is peace made visible. The reward is not in power, but in release, the soft exhale after lifetimes of holding breath. Some myths say there are multiple Elysiums, and the greatest souls, after living pure lives 3 times over, are granted passage to the Isles of the Blessed, where the cycle of rebirth finally ends. Yet perhaps the truth is simpler. Elysium is not a place apart from life, but a reflection of what life can be when it is lived fully, kindly, without regret. And as you walk through it, you realize that heaven is not somewhere to reach, but something to remember. A state of the soul when it stops searching and simply exists. In Elysium, everything you ever lost is still here, but changed, lighter, freer, unbound. Even your own reflection looks back not with longing, but understanding. The wind carries your name, and for the first time, it feels like home.
There is a place deeper than death, where even the shadows dare not wander. Beneath the underworld itself lies Tartarus, the abyss that existed before creation, older than chaos, colder than light. The ancients said that if a hammer were dropped from heaven, it would fall for 9 days before reaching the earth, and from earth another 9 days before striking Tartarus. It is not merely a pit, it is the memory of punishment, the echo of rebellion. When the Titans rose against Zeus and lost, this was where they were cast. Chained in caverns so vast they swallow sound, the old gods lay bound by lightning and time. Cronus, once ruler of the Golden Age, sleeps here,
dreaming endlessly of thrones that crumble like sand. Around him, rivers of fire whisper through the dark, not burning, only reminding. The air is heavy with silence, not absence, but weight. Every breath feels borrowed. The walls themselves seem alive, pulsing faintly like the veins of the world. Some say Tartarus is guarded by the 100-handed Hecatoncheires, beings of unimaginable strength who strike the ground to keep order in the void. Each blow is like thunder, muffled by eternity. Here dwell not only the Titans, but souls condemned for their deeds, those who defied the gods or mocked justice. You might glimpse Sisyphus eternally pushing his boulder uphill, only to watch it roll back again. His arms never rest, yet his despair has long turned into rhythm. Farther still, Tantalus stands in a pool of water that recedes each time he bends to drink, while branches of fruit swing just beyond his reach. Their torment is not rage, but repetition, the endless reminder that desire without humility is its own prison. The deeper you go, the more the light dissolves, until even thought begins to slow. Yet Tartarus is not pure evil, it is balance, the weight that keeps heaven aloft. Without it, justice would lose meaning. For the Greeks, it was not merely a punishment, but a reflection of consequence, a reminder that power untamed becomes its own downfall. The Titans, though defeated, are not forgotten. Their slumber holds the memory of creation itself, for from their fall, order was born. You hear a faint hum, perhaps the echo of Kronos sighing in dreams, or perhaps the heartbeat of the earth above. Down here, time bends differently. Centuries drift like dust. Even the gods rarely descend, for Tartarus is not ruled, it simply exists. In some myths, it was said that the blackest iron gates of Tartarus were forged by Poseidon himself, sealed with the fire of Hephaestus and locked by Hades' own will. No soul escapes, not because they are chained, but because here, even escape has no meaning. The abyss does not hold its prisoners, it teaches them stillness. It is the end of defiance, the silence after the scream. And as you stand at its edge, you feel the paradox of Tartarus, terrifying yet strangely calm, a darkness so complete it feels like peace.
In the deepest halls of the Underworld, where even echoes move softly, sits a throne carved of obsidian and shadow. Upon it rules Hades, the unseen one, lord of the silent realm. To mortals, his name was a whisper of fear. Yet among the gods, he was not cruel. He was steady, patient, unchanging as stone. His duty was not to destroy life, but to preserve the balance between beginnings and ends. Still, eternity in darkness can weigh even upon a god. And so, when he looked upon Persephone, daughter of Demeter, goddess of the harvest,
Something within him stirred, something he had long forgotten, longing. Persephone was spring itself made flesh, laughter turned into color, innocence that danced among meadows. She did not know the language of sorrow until one day, as she reached for a bloom of narcissus, the earth beneath her opened. Hades emerged, his chariot drawn by black horses whose hooves did not strike sound. He did not steal her as men tell. He invited her into his world, where light could not reach, but truth could not hide. Yet to the world above she had vanished, and her mother's grief froze the earth. Fields withered, seeds refused to wake. For the first time, mortals felt what the gods had always known, the ache of absence. Down below, Persephone wandered the silent halls, where rivers gleamed like mirrors and souls drifted like feathers. At first she wept, not from fear, but from remembering warmth. Hades did not demand her love. He simply waited, setting before her the fruit of the pomegranate, crimson, glistening like a heart that still beats. To taste it was to belong to both worlds. And when she ate, 6 seeds passed her lips, one for every month she would spend beneath. Over time, Persephone's sorrow softened. She saw the underworld not as prison, but as promise, a place that needed her as much as the sun. Her voice filled the empty chambers with music. Her touch made the dead remember their gentlest dreams. Even Hades, stern and silent, began to smile. And so, a new rhythm was born. Each year, Persephone returned to the surface, and the world bloomed in celebration. Demeter rejoiced, the fields turned green, and spring returned. But when Persephone descended again, the earth grew still, waiting in quiet patience for her next return. Thus the seasons were born, life and death in endless embrace. The story of Hades and Persephone is not one of abduction, but of balance, of love that bridges 2 worlds, teaching that darkness and light are not enemies, but reflections of one another. For even in the deepest shadow, something blooms, and even in the brightest day, something remembers the dark. In the farthest corners of the underworld, where even echoes rest, there dwell 2 brothers, born not of shadow, but of necessity. Thanatos and Hypnos, death and sleep. To mortals, they are twin mysteries, always near, always misunderstood. Yet the ancients did not fear them. They whispered that to know these brothers was to understand the rhythm of existence itself, the pulse of endings, and the breath of rest. Thanatos, the elder, moves like the final sigh of a candle. His wings are dark but soft, and when he comes, He does not strike, he touches. His fingers are cool as twilight, his voice as quiet as the moment before dawn. He is not the destroyer of life, but the keeper of its dignity. When he appears beside a dying soul, there is no terror, only release, as though the weight of years suddenly learns to float. Mortals who saw him in dreams said his eyes were endless, not cruel, not kind, simply eternal, mirrors of the truth that all things must one day return to stillness. And beside him walks his twin, Hypnos, gentler still. His robe glows faintly, like moonlight on water, and from his hands drift tiny petals of poppy and mist. His touch closes the eyes of the weary. His whisper invites the restless into peace. He is not the end, but the pause, the soft bridge between wakefulness and oblivion. The Greeks said that Hypnos dwelled in a cave where no sun or moon ever reached, surrounded by blooming night flowers and the quiet murmur of the Lethe River. His mother, Nyx, the night, would guard the entrance so that no noise could disturb his sacred calm. Even the gods respected his domain, for when Hypnos spoke, even Zeus obeyed, letting his thunder rest. In their way, the brothers are balance made flesh. One closes the day, the other closes the life, both teaching that all endings are forms of mercy. Death and sleep are not cruel nor kind. They are necessary, two halves of the same serenity. And if you listen closely, you can hear their wings in your own breathing. Thanatos in the exhale, Hypnos in the sigh. They visit you every night, these quiet gods, not to take, but to remind. Each time your eyes grow heavy, you are touching the edge of their realm, and in that touch there is no fear, only stillness, only surrender. In the underworld, they move unseen through fields of shadow and starlight, guiding souls to where they belong, some to Asphodel, some to Elysium, and some to rest beyond all dreaming. And when their work is done, they return to the cave of night, where even time sleeps. The Greeks believed that to die peacefully was to be embraced by Thanatos, and to dream deeply was to be kissed by Hypnos, both gestures of the same divine tenderness. For the truth hidden in the underworld is that everything changes form. The river flows, the flame flickers, the soul drifts, and through it all, the brothers walk beside us, unseen, eternal. So when your body grows still tonight, do not resist the quiet, for it is Hypnos at your side, drawing you gently toward the same peace that even gods envy. And when your final dawn comes, Thanatos will be there, not to take, but to carry, into the silence that is not absence, but home.
In ancient Greece, where marble met mountain and prayers rose with the wind, there was a place where mortals came to touch the voice of the divine. It was called Delphi, the navel of the world, the center where heaven and earth breathed as one. Here, in the shadow of Mount Parnassus, stood the temple of Apollo, god of light, truth, and prophecy. The air shimmered with incense and whispers. Pilgrims climbed the winding path in silence, their footsteps echoing like heartbeat against stone. Each came with questions about war, love, fate, hoping that the gods would answer through the oracle. And she did. They called her Pythia, a woman chosen not for beauty or birth, but for purity of spirit. She would sit upon a sacred tripod above a fissure that breathed vapors from the earth, the breath of Apollo himself, they said. The mist rose around her, fragrant and warm, curling like language yet to be spoken. As it filled her lungs, her eyes grew distant, her voice trembled, and through her came the voice of the god. Her words were riddles, delicate and dangerous. Know thyself, she said, nothing in excess. The Greeks carved these words upon the temple's entrance, not as a rule, but as a mirror. For to know oneself was to face the divine, and to live beyond measure was to defy it. Kings and heroes came from across the lands, their crowns heavy with doubt, their hearts seeking certainty. One such king was Croesus of Lydia, rich beyond imagination. Before waging war on Persia, he sent envoys to Delphi, asking whether he should fight. The oracle answered, "If you cross the river, a great empire will fall." Satisfied, he attacked, and it did fall, his own. Such was the way of prophecy, never false, but never simple. The gods did not lie. They revealed what was true, but only to those who could listen without pride. The Pythia's voice drifted through ages, shaping destinies and myths alike. She was both bridge and veil, speaking truths that could save or destroy, yet always in the same gentle tone. To some, her words were salvation, to others, ruin. And yet, beneath it all, Delphi was not a place of answers, but of awakening. To enter its temple was to be reminded that destiny is not given. It is discovered, piece by piece, in the smoke between silence and surrender. The pilgrims who left often found that the oracle had not told them what to do, but who they truly were. And perhaps that was the point. In the hush of the temple, where wind met incense, and the stones glowed faintly with centuries of prayer, even the gods seemed to breathe slower, waiting for mortals to learn that the greatest prophecy is not about the future, but about understanding the present.
In the quiet beyond time, where even gods paused to listen, there lived three sisters, ancient, unchanging, and patient as eternity itself. The Greeks called them the Moirai, the Fates. They did not dwell upon Olympus, nor in the Underworld, for they belonged to both and to neither. They were older than Zeus, older than light and thunder, older than the stories that tried to name them. And yet their work was simple, to weave the pattern of every life. The first was Clotho, the spinner. She sat before a wheel of silver and drew from nothing the delicate thread of existence. With fingers steady as moonlight, she spun the beginnings of all souls, from the cries of newborns to the spark of stars. Each strand was unique, shimmering faintly with possibility. Beside her sat Lachesis, the measurer. She held a staff carved of bone and marked the length of each thread. It was she who decided how far a soul would walk beneath the sun, not out of cruelty, but balance. Some threads were long, some short, but all were perfect in the design unseen. And then came Atropos, the inevitable. Silent, calm, her shears of obsidian gleamed like night's edge. When the time arrived, she did not hesitate. One precise cut, and the thread returned to the loom of the universe. The Greeks said that even Zeus, mighty as he was, bowed before them. For fate once spun could not be unspun. The fates did not argue nor judge. They did not punish or reward. They simply continued, weaving endlessly while worlds rose and fell around them. Mortals often feared them, but they were not cruel. They were the hands of order, ensuring that chaos never claimed too much. In their tapestry, the young and the old, the rich and the poor, the gods and men, all were threads of equal worth. The beauty lay not in how long the thread endured, but in how it gleamed while it lasted. Sometimes, when a hero was born, the fates would pause, their eyes softening for a moment, as if admiring a new color never seen before. But still they spun, for every beginning must one day end, and in that ending another life could start. To understand the fates was to understand serenity, the acceptance that no one commands time. Some pray for longer threads, others for golden ones, but the wise learn that meaning is not in length, but in pattern. As you breathe tonight, your chest rising and falling like the loom of life itself, imagine the fates watching, not as judges, but as keepers of peace. They see your joy, your grief, your uncertainty, and they weave it gently into the fabric of everything. When the thread finally returns to their hands, they will not mourn it, they will smile, knowing it glowed exactly as it was meant to. And somewhere beyond the veil, Clotho will already be spinning again.
There are moments in myth where fate speaks not with thunder, but with silence.
prophecies were never meant to warn. They were mirrors, showing mortals what already lived within them. Across Greece, countless tales unfolded, each touched by the whisper of destiny. The story of Oedipus begins not with guilt, but with love. A king and queen desperate for a child. Yet when the oracle warned that their son would kill his father and marry his mother, they tried to outrun the words. But fate, like a river, always finds its way. The child was cast away, only to return years later, unknowing, to fulfill every word of the prophecy. The tragedy was not in the act, but in the blindness, not of the eyes, but of the soul. For Oedipus, when truth dawned, did not curse the gods. He understood that destiny is not punishment, but reflection. To know the truth is to bear its weight. Then there was Achilles, whose mother Thetis wept upon hearing his fate. He was given a choice, a long, quiet life, forgotten by time, or a brief one that burned forever in memory. Achilles chose the flame. He walked into war knowing the end, yet without regret. For some souls, meaning lies not in length, but in brilliance. The oracle did not curse him. It simply told him who he was, and in that knowledge, he found peace. Perseus, too, was shaped by prophecy. His grandfather, King Acrisius, feared the words that said his own blood would end his reign. So he locked his daughter away. Yet Zeus, in the form of golden rain, found her. Perseus was born, destined to fulfill what his grandfather feared most. And so it was, not by vengeance, but by accident. A discus thrown in celebration, not hatred, struck Acrisius down. Thus the prophecy came true, not through cruelty, but inevitability. Fate does not rush. It waits, patient as the sea. Then there was Paris, the shepherd prince of Troy. His prophecy warned that he would bring ruin to his city. Yet from that same destiny came one of the greatest tales ever told, the love of Helen and the war that followed. The gods had whispered his fate long before he was born, but his heart, young, human, and blind with desire, walked the path all the same. Through him, mortals learned that beauty and destruction often share the same shadow. And finally, Cassandra, the one who could see everything but changed nothing. Apollo, in love, gave her the gift of prophecy. When she refused his affection, he did not take her gift away, he twisted it. From that day on, she would still see truth, but no one would believe her. And so she spoke warnings that fell on deaf ears, watching cities burn, watching lives end, powerless but wise. Her curse was not madness, it was clarity. For to see truth in a world that prefers lies is the loneliest fate of all. These prophecies, woven together, form the heartbeat of Greek myth, a quiet rhythm of cause and consequence, of lessons carved in tragedy. They remind us that destiny is not a sentence, but a story, one we tell by living. Some fight it, some embrace it, but all return to it, as rivers return to the sea. And perhaps that is why the ancients listened so closely to oracles, not to escape their fate, but to understand it. For in the whisper of a god, hidden beneath smoke and time, they heard something eternal. That to live is to walk between knowing and not knowing, between choice and surrender, between what is written and what can still be rewritten.
All things must end, even the reign of immortal gods.
The wind that once carried their voices now whispered through ruins. Yet, long before Olympus dimmed, there was one final blaze of divine fire, the Trojan War. It began not with hatred, but with pride. The gods, in all their glory, had grown restless. Among them, Eris, the goddess of discord, cast a golden apple at a wedding feast. Upon it were carved 3 words that would change the fate of both gods and men, for the fairest one. Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite each claimed it, and from their rivalry, destiny began to weave its final threads. They turned to Paris, a mortal prince of Troy, to judge. Hera offered power, Athena offered wisdom, and Aphrodite offered love. The love of Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris chose love, and from that choice the world burned. For Helen was already queen of Sparta, and her departure ignited a war that lasted 10 years. The Greeks sailed across the Aegean with 1,000 ships, their sails white against the horizon. And on the fields of Troy, heroes rose and fell like waves. Achilles, the invincible, fought for glory. Hector, noble and loyal, fought for home. Ajax, mighty but proud, fought for honor. The gods themselves took sides, Zeus watching in silence, Athena guiding the Greeks, Apollo standing with Troy, Hera weaving her grudges into the wind. Olympus trembled not with worship, but with conflict. For the first time, divine blood was spilled, not upon altars, but upon the battlefield. And as the war dragged on, the lines between gods and mortals blurred. The mortals had fought like gods, the gods had quarreled like mortals. The balance had shifted. Even Zeus, high upon Olympus, felt the weight of time pressing against eternity. The age of heroes was ending, and with it the certainty of divine rule. From the smoke of Troy came silence, and in that silence a new world began to breathe, one where faith no longer commanded fear, and where man, scarred but wiser, began to wonder if perhaps destiny had always belonged to him.
After Troy burned, the smoke did not fade into silence. It drifted across the sea, across time, and settled upon the hearts of men. For the first time, mortals began to wonder if gods could fight, bleed, and fall into jealousy. Perhaps the divine was not beyond them after all. The age of heroes had ended, but something quieter, deeper had begun. Man turned inward. The shrines that once echoed with prayers now echoed with questions. In the olive groves of Athens, under skies the color of bronze, men gathered to speak of truth. They no longer begged the gods for answers. They searched for them in their own minds. Socrates sat among them, barefoot, his voice calm but sharp. "The unexamined life," he said, "is not worth living." His words were not rebellion, but awakening.
For centuries, mortals had worshipped power. Now they sought understanding. Plato listened and dreamed of a realm beyond sight, where perfect forms shaped imperfect lives. He spoke of justice and the soul's journey toward truth, as if the divine had moved not above the clouds, but within the heart. Then came Aristotle, the bridge between heaven and earth, who saw in every stone, every leaf, every star, a reason waiting to be named. He taught that knowledge itself was sacred, that the search for wisdom was the truest form of worship. And so the temples began to empty, the marble steps, once worn smooth by the feet of believers, grew cold beneath the dust of time. But this was not loss, it was transformation. The gods did not vanish, they shifted into ideas, symbols, philosophies. Faith became thought, prayer became question, and destiny became curiosity. Across the seas, a young conqueror was born, Alexander of Macedon, the student of Aristotle. His sword was sharp, but his mind sharper. He carried not only armies, but the wisdom of Greece to the edges of the known world. Wherever he went, cities rose, libraries bloomed, and the stories of the gods mingled with the dreams of men. Under his reign, mortals began to see themselves reflected in myth, capable of both creation and destruction, of reason and reverence. The divine spark no longer belonged solely to Olympus. It burned quietly within the human spirit. The world itself began to change. Stars were mapped, patterns studied, numbers spoken like prayers. Science, once feared, became a new kind of faith, one that sought harmony, not miracles. And yet, even as reason replaced worship, the gods lingered in memory, gentle, patient, watching as their children learned to walk on their own. The marble temples grew silent, ivy creeping over forgotten altars. But the stories, those sacred breaths of meaning, lived on. In philosophy, in art, in the way mortals still looked to the sky and whispered, "Why are we here?" The answer no longer came from thunder or oracle smoke. It came from within, soft, human, eternal. The gods smiled, unseen. Their reign had not ended, it had evolved.
Empires rise as others fade. And so it was that while Greece's marble temples grew silent, the iron banners of Rome began to rise beneath the same sky. The gods, eternal in memory but weary in worship, watched as their names were spoken in a new tongue. Zeus became Jupiter, Hera became Juno, Poseidon
became Neptune. Aphrodite became Venus. Ares became Mars. To the Romans, these were not strangers, only familiar faces with new stories. They built great temples, vast and solemn, their columns stretching toward heaven as if to remind the world that Olympus still breathed. But something had changed. The prayers no longer trembled with awe. The gods had become symbols of empire, not mystery. Zeus thundered not for justice, but for Rome's victories. Mars did not stride into battle as chaos, but as order, a patron of discipline and conquest. Venus, once the soft whisper of desire, now adorned coins and marble, her beauty used to crown power. The gods, once mirrors of nature, had become mirrors of men. The Romans did not seek their favor as the Greeks once did. They used their image to build their destiny. Yet even so, the old spirits lingered. In the quiet of Roman gardens, statues of Apollo still glowed in sunlight. In the baths, mosaics told stories of heroes long past. In the libraries, scrolls from Athens whispered of the cosmos, the soul, and the eternal dance between fate and freedom. Rome had conquered Greece in war, but Greece conquered Rome in thought. And so, while the gods changed names, their essence endured, reshaped, reinterpreted, but never forgotten. Yet underneath the glory of marble and empire, cracks began to form. The Romans, in their vastness, stretched too thin. Their temples were full of offerings, but their hearts were empty. The divine had become routine, a ritual without wonder. Philosophers spoke now of logic, of duty, of law. Faith became ceremony. Olympus was no longer a mountain above, it was a memory below. The gods still watched, but their laughter had faded. In their place, a new silence grew, one that spoke not of chaos, but of waiting. For change was coming, and even gods, it seemed, could feel the weight of history pressing closer. The fires of their altars still burned, but dimly, steady, flickering, as if knowing that soon a new dawn would rise that did not belong to them. Yet there was no anger in their fading, only peace. For in every new god, the old ones lived on, in the language, in the stars, in the human longing for meaning. They were no longer worshipped in temples, but in thought, in art, in memory. The Romans would pass, as the Greeks had. Empires fall, faiths shift, but the divine, that quiet yearning for the infinite, never dies.
The world changes not with a shout, but with a whisper. By the 4th century after Christ, the gods of Olympus had grown quiet. Their temples still stood, proud, radiant beneath the Mediterranean sun, but the hymns had faded. Across the empire, a new faith was rising, one that spoke not of thunder, but of forgiveness. Christianity spread like dawn light over marble, soft yet unstoppable. When Emperor Constantine looked to the sky and saw the cross, the world turned. The empire that once bowed to Jupiter now bent its knees to a single god, unseen, infinite, and merciful. The altars of Zeus were left unlit, the fires of Apollo dimmed. One by one, the sacred temples closed their doors. In 393 AD, under the decree of Emperor Theodosius, the worship of the old gods was forbidden. The priests who had once sung to Athena laid down their robes. The oracle of Delphi, silent for centuries, spoke one last time. When asked what had become of Apollo, her voice, frail, trembling, answered, "Tell the king, the beautiful temple has fallen. The god is gone. His voice is silent. Only silence remains." And with that, the age of Olympus ended. But it did not end in bitterness. The gods did not rage against the new order. They simply withdrew into stories, into stars, into the quiet corners of memory. Some said they turned to dust. Others said they became ideas, watching still but no longer needing prayer to exist. The people moved on. They built churches where temples once stood, raised crosses where marble once gleamed. The gods watched as mortals prayed again, not to them, but to something beyond even their knowing. Yet there was beauty in that surrender. For perhaps this was always the way, faith transforming, never dying. Even as the statues cracked, the essence of the divine endured. Apollo's light became the light of wisdom in scholars' hearts. Athena's reason lived in philosophy. Demeter's nurture echoed in every harvest. And Aphrodite, she still lingered in every act of love. The new world did not destroy the old, it carried its spirit forward. Beneath cathedrals, fragments of old temples still lay, stones whispering of a time when gods walked among men. And at night, when the stars appeared, children still pointed upward, naming constellations after heroes and gods. For though the altars crumbled, the heavens remembered. The old gods did not die. They became stories, eternal, undying, and reborn with every telling. The sunset of Olympus was not a tragedy. It was a transformation, a passing of the torch from myth to faith, from faith to reason, from reason to wonder. And in that golden twilight, as the last light touched the mountains, the gods of Greece watched the world they had shaped and smiled. For even in absence, they would be remembered, not as rulers, but as reflections of what humanity had always sought: meaning, beauty, and the quiet courage to dream. Though temples crumbled and statues fell, the gods of Greece never truly left. They changed shape, no longer carved in marble, but written in words, painted in dreams, and whispered in the rhythm of human thought. Their voices echoed through centuries, reshaping art, philosophy, and science. From the ashes of Olympus, a new light was born, the light of remembrance. In the scrolls of poets and the brush strokes of painters, they found new homes. Homer's verses carried Achilles and Odysseus into eternity. Sculptors still sought the grace of Aphrodite. Painters still borrowed the thunder of Zeus. Even as the world turned Christian, the soul of Greece endured, quiet, graceful, woven into the fabric of civilization. The Renaissance would one day awaken the gods once more. In the studios of Florence, artists painted Apollo's light and Athena's wisdom into human form again. Scholars read Plato and heard the echo of Delphi's oracle, "Know thyself." And in knowing, they rediscovered what it meant to be divine. The influence spread beyond art. It shaped the very words we speak. Achilles' heel, a reminder of human fragility. Pandora's box, a symbol of curiosity and consequence. A Herculean task, the weight of impossible duty. Even in modern psychology, the old myths live on. The Oedipus complex, narcissism, reflections of ancient truths about desire and identity. The gods, it seemed, had simply moved from the mountains into the mind. Astronomers named planets for them, Jupiter, Venus, Mars, so that each night when we gaze at the heavens, we still look upon Olympus. Every constellation tells a story, every myth reborn as a pattern of stars. And so the divine continues to shimmer above us, eternal as thought, gentle as memory. For the Greeks never built their myths merely to worship. They built them to remember what it means to be human, brave, flawed, curious, yearning. Each god was a mirror, each hero a lesson, each story a reflection of the heart that made it. Time may bury empires, but not meaning. Even now, in our quietest moments, in the sigh before sleep, in the ache of love, in the wonder of the stars, we still walk among them. The gods live not in temples, but in the stories that refuse to die. And stories, unlike stone, are eternal. They cross centuries as gently as dreams cross night. So close your eyes now. Let the voices of these ancient tales drift softly through your thoughts. Hear the waves against distant shores, the whisper of olive leaves, the fading song of the lyre. For the journey is complete. The age of gods has fallen, yet their light remains. These tales, born of chaos and courage, still guide us, not to Olympus, but to ourselves. And as the wind carries the final notes of myth across time, remember, the gods are not gone. They have simply become part of you.